Dragon Rampant. We have been having some fun with this game, and today we are breaking in a brand new army. You might have seen a little preview in a previous Fistful of Lead video, but today we're going full Goblin, baby. Bromans versus Goblins. Now, we have been working our way through the scenarios. We have played up through, and one of the great things about this book is it provides a lot of scenarios. And we have worked our way up through scenario number A, B, C, and I think D. Let's take a look here in a brief little flip through. Testing courage, rules, magic. There we go, scenarios. We played the gory bloodbath on the Plains of Doom, the sacred mole of Uckert, although we called it an egg. We did the death chase and the crystal gale. Now we're going to skip the ring bearer. The ring bearer is one of those games where one player nominates a unit that has the ring, and if they win this scenario with the ring unit still alive, they win extra points. There's a lot of bluffing going on in there. Absolutely a two-player battle. We're not going to do that one, maybe ever, unless I can find a, if old Mr. Wargaming can find a friend someday. Scenario F is called Potboiler, and it has some specific scenario requirements, or terrain requirements that I'm not quite ready for. So we're going to circle back around to the Potboiler, and we're going to go right on to Scenario G, Into the Valley of Certain Death. This scenario uses a very interesting deployment scheme. Instead of just two forces lining up, you divide the east and the west side of the board in half. Now, I have used yellow markers to show that there is a deployment zone on the north and on the south. Likewise, on the west side of the board, there's a deployment zone on the north and on the south. Whoever deploys on the north side of the east will deploy the other half of their army on the south side of the west. Or like this and this, right? So opposite that. Then you score victory points for exiting units off of one or the other of these exit points. All you got to do is move a figure into contact with one of these purple gems. Imagine this is a magic portal to a boring, mundane world like our own. Things get a little more complicated because all of the terrain you see here is, well, maybe not this, because you can't move through it. That's blocking terrain. But the rest of these terrain, including the stream, this is all hazardous if you move a unit into it. And the way we're going to do this today, because it's a little bit fuzzy in the rules, I can read it to you verbatim, and then you can judge my performance. Every time a unit moves in dangerous terrain, roll a die. The unit loses half that number of strength points rounded down. So on a 1, you lose... On a 1 or a 2, you lose... No, on a 1, you lose nothing. On a 2 or 3, you lose 1 strength point. That's going to complicate things. The little temple here with the bubbling cauldron there, likewise, anytime you enter that, and this whole ruin complex blocks a line of sight. The only real line of sight blocking terrain we've got is the temple and these little trees over here, which you can't enter. And then just to make it a little bit bigger, I did stick the death frog in there, so he's guarding his little den. Stay out of there, fellas. The question we have now is, who's going to deploy here, and who's going to deploy here? And then we also have to figure out, so there's an intersection of these scenario rules with the general scenario rules. We will dice off to decide who is the attacker. Yellow die is the boys in yellow, and it's tied because, of course, we always start off by tying on our initiative rolls, and apparently on this as well. All right, the goblins are going to be, because they rolled higher, they are the attackers, which forces the Bromans to deploy first. That means the Bromans get to pick which deployment zone they want, and I think they absolutely want this deployment zone here and here, because they don't want to have to deal with that stream if they can help it. You've seen them, you know them, you love them. Here are the forces of the Broman Empire. Today we are bringing a unit of elite foot, 6 strength points. Our spearmen are going to be classed as heavy spear today. We're only bringing one of them. They are a little more fighty than you've seen in the past, and they can form wall of spears, which increases their armor by 1, but they can't move. We do have a unit of light bows, a unit of, what do we call those guys? The guys with the lances will be elite riders, and we've got heavy riders with King Hopper. King Hopper, of course, only has the one leg, one of those fortunate miscasts that gives you something delightful to worry about, and in fact, to add a little bit of personality to your king. And fortunately, he's even got the little crown. Ain't that great? These are all Coruscant miniatures, so if you want to replicate this or paint up your own medieval war, they're from the 13th century range, and they are all wearing the kettle helms. At least all the knights are. He has a bunch of or not kettle helms, barrel helms. You can get kettle helms and like open face. There's all kinds of fun stuff. Take a look. Coruscant miniatures. But we need to figure out what King Hopper's special ability is this time around. For that, we roll 3d6. And if we get let's call that a 3, it's going to be an 11. And he is commanding. You may re-roll a failed move, attack, or shoot order within 6 inches of your leader's model once per turn. He is commanding. So anybody within 6 inches of this figure right here, including this unit, I take it, can re-roll a failed command. Oh, that's going to be great. Really good activation. Now, let's take a look at the Goblin Forces that are going up against and probably trying to avoid these guys. This is a 24-point battle. I should point out that the Bromans do have 24 points, so do these guys. The lore behind the goblins for my Dragon Rampant is that they are a nomadic peoples, for lack of a better term, for a sufficiently broad definition of people. Our leader is going to be this guy here. He's got the blue tabard or tail right there on the back of the guy. These are greater war beasts back here. And that is the king of the goblins. Now, the goblins also have a unit of lesser war beasts. That is these wolves here. Then they've got heavy riders with the spears. They've got light riders who can shoot. That's these guys. They have evade and skirmish, so they can do half move and shoot. And then in the front here, we've got elite riders. These are the guys with the mixed weapons. You can see there's a little bit of spears. This guy's got more like a war club. It's probably a war banner with the skull and the yellow tabard on it. But at any rate, that's another 24-point mission, and we got to figure out what the special ability is for the Gob King. And he rolls on the same chart. He gets a 12, and that means you would think I've been smart enough not to put this book down. A 12 is a goater. Within each turn, one unit may automatically pass a move activation without needing to roll dice. Anybody within 6 inches of this figure can automatically pass a move action. Don't even need to roll. That's pretty awesome. Let me deploy these guys, and then we'll get started. We'll take a look at the western side of the board first. We're going to be bouncing back and forth. A lot more camera moves than usual here, but as always, I will keep the camera on the south side of the table to help you stay oriented with what's going on and where. I have moved a couple of pieces of terrain. You can see here and here that I've bunched the dangerous terrain up against the edge of the table, forcing players to decide whether to take the hit as they move through dangerous terrain. Remember, half speed, you may be stuck in here for 2 turns and rolling 2d6. Otherwise, you can go around, which buys a little more time and gives our players more reason to fight over this portion of the battlefield. Slows things down. Over here, we've got a ford. This is the only safe place to cross the stream. Bear that in mind. That's going to be important. Then, after making that change, I deployed the Bromans. And you can see the Bromans here. We've got the King Hopper is down in the corner. We've got bowmen and our spearmen here. And then, in order to make this work, you have to put 12 and 12. Well, I've got 3 4-point units here and 2 6-point units up there. So all the elites for the Bromans are up there. On the other side of the ledger, I had to do a similar thing where I put my 6-point units for the goblins in the northwest corner. That is the Greater War Beast and the Elite Riders. And then the 4-point units, the Heavy Riders, the Light Riders, and the zippy little Lesser War Beasts down here in the southeast. I also removed the yellow gemstones marking where the deployment zones end. And with all of that out of the way, we get to go on to the attackers go first. That is the goblins. And the Gob King can nominate a unit that gets to automatically activate for free. That's going to be the Elite Riders are going to move their 5 inches, followed immediately by rolling to activate on the D6s, the Greater War Beasts, who activate on since it's a move order, 6 up. And they fail. So the only thing that's going to happen is those Elite Riders are going to get up to the ford. Sensing an opportunity, King Hopper orders his bowmen to move up into this section of the battlefield. On a 7, bows do get to make a move, and we're just going to move this guy up right now. They only move 3 inches, but that gets him closer. Then we'll nominate the spearmen. Why don't you guys move up? Heavyfoot move on a 5 up. And on a 4, they fail. But remember, King Hopper is goading. He says, why don't you idiots try that again? And with a 7, they're going to be able to move up. Heavy foot can move 3. Oh, the light foot moved 4 inches. I'm going to give this guy another inch to there. Then King Hopper says, I am going to move myself this time. The heavy riders move on a 5 up. And on a 5 he does, so we'll bring him up a total of 5 inches to here. And I can at least bring those guys up. Then the last thing we're going to do, well, we've got 2 more units up there. We'll try to move the elite foot first. They move on a 5. And with a 12 they get it, and then the elite riders move on a 7, and they get it. So clean sweep, everybody moves. As you can see, the Bromans have completed their movement. We're leaving the elite foot down here to kind of screen. These guys are the hardest to move. They've got a move of 7, and without the backup of King Hopper, it's going to be a real problem. Once again, we have a situation where we can allow our elite riders to make their first move automatically, thanks to the Gob King's orders, and I think we'll go ahead and move them 2 and then 3. So they're going to kind of wheel around this way, and the way this works is you get 3 points if a unit at half strength or more touches a purple gemstone. At less than half strength, you get 1 point, and of course, if you're wiped off the table, you get no victory points. Next thing we're going to try to do is move these greater war beasts up off the side of the table, and nothing's going to happen. So I think the idea is go ahead and use these guys to get stuck in and slow the Bromans down, hopefully until your greater war beasts can get stuck in, and even if you exit with 4 guys, you still get 3 victory points. So if you can get up there first, you're going to be in good situation. You're not going to be able to get up there first, and you are going to completely lose this southern flank if you don't get on the ball with rolling your activation dice. Greater War Beasts move on a... I'll just double check that. They move on a 6 up. So, yep, so he fails. Moving on to the Bromans. Who is the most likely to complete a move action on the side of the Bromans? It's going to be the... let's see, the heavy foot move on a 5 and the bows on a 6. We're going to try the heavy foot first. Moving 3 inches on a 7, they get it. So I'm just going to move 1 guy up to here. And then we're going to try to move those... well, wait a minute. We get the reroll down here. Let's try to move our king next. On a 7, he will be able to move a total of 5 inches. And we'll circle him around to here. Then we're going to try to move the... Oh, we still have a freebie. We're going to move our bowmen. And they get a move. So we don't... And remember, they get to move 4 inches. Let's bring them straight across to here. And I can bring up a couple of guys just to show you. One of the things that I've been doing is moving one of the guys in the back. And I do use the kind of more informal... As long as the guy in the front and the guy in the back stay within that 4 inches of their movement range, then we'll call it good. Likewise with these guys, very informal. Bring them up here. They're not on Wall of Spears, so we'll leave them a little bit separate. And then we have to figure out what's going to happen. And I can even show you on this last guy. He only gets to move 5 inches, so that's about as far as he can make it. And this guy's going to have to wheel up to there. So I'll bring the king and his men back this way. In fact, the other thing I want to do is leave Hopper... Where is he? Where are you, you one-legged monster? He should be wearing a crown. Oh, he's the leaning guy, right. So I leave him in the middle, so he is definitely within 6 inches of these foot units that they are escorting. Probably bring the king up to here so these 2 units can get across, score that big 6 points. But it doesn't do you any good to score 6 points if you're not knocking your enemy down to half. We got to remember that. You have to engage in combat, otherwise it's going to wind up a tie. And how boring is that? We're going to move the elite foot first. No, we're not. We're going to leave all of our elite guys alone. And then, instead of moving the camera around, because we're going to do the exact same thing, I'm going to bring the king up this time. He can move a total of 5 inches with that free movement. And we're going to have to stay in single file to avoid the dangerous terrain. And then we can check for our elite riders, who will move on a 7. They are able to move on a 7 up. So they just made it. For the first time, our goblins have a chance to move their eastern flank. And if we look at the light riders are going to move on a 5, the lesser war beasts on a 6, and the heavy riders on a 5. So we'll go ahead and move our heavy riders first. Moving on a 5, they get a 9. They are going to be able to move heavy versus elite. I don't think I like that idea. I think I want to move these heavy riders just straight up. Let's just get them into position, huh? Now, the heavy riders do not have wild charge, so that's helpful. Then we're going to try to move our bowmen. our light riders move on a 5, and these guys will bring straight up. I think we can use them effectively against these elite foot. As you'll see momentarily, the last unit left to go is the speediest. That's the lesser war beasts, and on a 4, they fail completely. So play kicks back over to the Bromans, and we are going to start with our bows. On a 7, they're going to move 3 inches to here. And because these guys are almost within range. But we'll have to figure out whether or not enough guys are blocked from line of sight to make a difference. Then, oh boy, so now it gets a little bit tricky because he's in the way. We're going to move the king first. And on a 9, he can move 5 inches, but he doesn't want to move anywhere past here. We're going to leave the king there. That way he's still within 6 inches of the spears, and he can drag them along with him as he goes. Everybody else moves up 5 like so. And if we wanted to, we could exit the king. But remember, King Hopper provides a +1 bonus to morale checks for everyone within 6 inches of him and line of sight. Now we get to move our heavy foot on a 6. The heavy foot are going to move, and we'll bring them over 3 inches to here. So they're trundling along, and the other issue that we may experiment with is trying to bring units in or out of combat so that we don't get too far blown out. The next thing we're going to do is try to move that elite foot, and on a 9, they will move straight this way. The elite riders are not within 5 inches. So they have to move. At 11, they're going to move. But where do we want to move them? We're going to bring them down this way as well. We're basically going to refuse that flank because there's some nasty warriors up here. If we can wipe out enough down here and still exit them, we're going to be in good shape. So to make that happen, we're going to bring our elite foot down this way, like so, and then we'll bring our heavy riders 5 inches to just parallel like so. And once they get close enough, they're going to have to start making those wild charges against these guys. And the other thing is, we don't want to get stuck in a situation where we're being charged, because do the elite riders have countercharge? They do. They do. Okay, so that's good to remember as well. But we're done with the Bromans. Now we're going to use our boss man for the part of the goblins. We'll use his special ability on himself. Gotta be careful, you go blind if you do too much of that. 5 inches will bring him to there. It's 4 inches and 5 for the second guy, and this third guy is going to come up to there. Then these guys are going to... We're just outside of range. If we bring them up at all, they're going to be in range of those bows. Do we want to do a skirmish order with our light cavalry over there? Or do we want to bring these guys into action this way and draw these elite riders off? Let's do that. We're going to try to move these guys first. And on a 7, the heavy riders... Not heavy. The elite riders will move... Wait. The goblins have elite riders. They will move 5 inches. The 5 inches will take them, and they're going to come straight at them. Now those elite riders don't have a choice. We are going to get in a fight. And for their part, the goblins have the advantage, because if they are forced to retreat, they'll retreat off the board and into the victory points. Then we're gonna... The range on these light cavalry... Let's try a skirmish order. On a 7-up, they get it. They can move 2.5 inches. We'll bring him up 2.5. We'll bring him up 2.5, and then we'll just bring everybody up kind of like this. With that, you can fire up to 6 inches. We are going to target this elite foot right here, and we get to roll 12 dice. We only hit on 6s, but if we can manage to score 3, elite foot have an armor of 4. Maybe we should be targeting the elite riders. They only have an armor of 3. Well, it's too late. I already declared it. So I'm going to pull out 12 dice. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And we're going to roll for these guys who are making a skirmish check, hitting on 6s, and they only get 1-2 hits. So either way, that's not even a hit, is it? Because that's our activation dice. So they only got 1 hit on that try, but they are closer than ever before. They're just 6 inches away, meaning these guys can't even charge them. Interesting. Interesting. The elite foot are going to have to pass 2 move checks. They're going to get hit pretty hard in the coming turns, but we still have to see what happens to these heavy riders. And on a, we'll re-roll that one. On a 7, they are going to be able to move. Let's bring them down. We're going to draw these guys off. So we're just going to bring them over to, we want to stay, we're going to get hit by those bows, whatever we do. Unless we want to bring them, yeah, we do. Let's bring them up this way. You know what? We're going to refuse the flank. If we bring them up here, like so, now we're safe from the bows. Oh, we might get charged by these guys, but we do have some backup. The last thing to do is move our war beasts, and the lesser war beasts only move on a 6. So they're still just, the wolves are just hiding in the corner there. That's the end of the goblin turn. Now for the tricky part, for the Bromans, these elite riders have to make a wild charge check first. They are 5 inches from these guys and 5 inches from these guys. We're going to go after, do we want to go after the heavy foot? The heavy riders have an armor of 3, the elite riders have an armor of 4. Let's charge the heavy riders. And that means make an attack action because they have the wild charge. So we're going to try to charge here. And on a 6, the elite riders succeed. Then we see if the heavy riders, who have countercharge, if they can roll a 7, they will countercharge. They don't, so they just sit there and take it. Our elite riders move into contact, and it's going to be 12 on 12 with our elite riders hitting on 3s. We'll roll for them first. Hitting on 3s. That's a really good roll. We may, you know what's funny? The Bromans have been tearing it up in our chainmail campaign, and they've been stinking it up here in these battles, but that may just have changed. The heavy riders have an armor of 3, so this amounts to 2 casualties. They are down to 4 strength points, but before the combat is simultaneous, we're going to roll 12 dice, hitting the elite riders. Because those heavy riders were caught flat-footed, their defense value is a 5. They're only hitting on 5s. They're going to get a grand total of 1, 2, 3 hits against those elite riders who have an armor of 4. They do no damage, which means the goblins have to make a retreat check. And on an 8, -2, they get a result of a 6. Heavy riders have a courage of 4. They're fine, but they do need to retreat half the distance. So they're going to fall back 2.5 inches to right about here. And we'll just kind of, we'll put them in line right there. These heavy riders are out of the game. And are they battered? You can tell they are because they have the red battered marker on their 6. The elite riders have gone. And that's the only required charge on the part of the Bromans. So the next thing we'll do is, if you take a look at line of sight here, most of my bowmen are behind the ruins. We're treating this basically as an infinitely tall box, meaning the heavy riders, for their part, at least, are immune from the bow fire. They got that going for them. I'm tempted, given what's going on over there, to move the spearmen up to block this channel right here for the heavy war beasts. I suspect the heavy war beasts are going to come down and start tearing things up. But why don't we go ahead and bring our heavy riders up here first? And that's going to be a move order on a 5-up. An 8 is a success. So 5 inches will bring Hopper to right about there. and we'll just bring him around to here. So we've got our standard 3x3 attack column set up like so. The next unit we're going to try to move is, I'm kind of thinking, maybe we should bring these guys back and just get them off the board. Just take the easy 6. Let's move the bowman can move 4. Let's move the bowman first. On a 9, they're going to be able to move 4 inches, and this lead guy will come down here. The back guy will have to stop right about there. And essentially, we can hide back here with these guys. And I'm going to bring the spearmen over. Now, the spearmen are beyond 6 inches, so if they don't get their 5 up to activate, we'll re-roll that. On a 6, all we're going to do is slide them over here to block this channel, if you will. And they're protecting the flank of the bowman. A little something like that. It's a little crowded down here, but now our bowmen can start launching. We may even bring our bowmen over here instead of exiting, so they can start launching arrows at these lesser war beasts. That's kind of the idea in my head. We'll see if that plan works out or not. Next, we got to try to move these elite, well, finally, the only unit left to go, those elite foot right there activate. They move on a 5 up, so they opt not to move. They're just going to stand there and take it. The next thing we have to do for the goblins now, our turn order, this is important, we have to rally battered units first. These guys aren't going to get to move. All they can do is try to rally. We'll roll 2d6, and on a 10 minus 2, they can remove the battered marker, but they are done. So 10 minus 2 is an 8, no longer battered, but they're done. Then we have to do the light riders have wild charge? They do not. That is the only required move for the turn. The next thing we'll do, these guys are within 6 inches. We could order our elite riders this way, and I think that's what we're going to do. So the freebie move will be the elite riders up to here. 5, 5, 5. Everybody gets a 5. And then we'll roll for our boss. On a 10, he is going to be able to move 5 inches. We'll bring him up to here. Front to front, something like that. As long as they're within 1.5 inches of each other. Nope. So this guy that's bringing up the rear, the choke point of the ford is kind of hampering these guys a little bit. So we've moved him, we've moved them, they're done. Do we want to use these guys? We're going to launch an attack with our... We're going to shoot our bows. We got to nominate our target first. Let's try to shoot these guys first. On a 7, the light riders will shoot. They have a 6 up. Their shoot value is a 5 up. And they get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits altogether. The elite riders have an armor of 4. That's going to knock out 1 rider. These riders now have to take a rally check at -1. They get a 6, and elite riders have a courage of 3, so they don't have to retreat. They're not battered. They just lost the 1 strength point. Then the last unit to go will be these lesser war beasts. You guys want to... Hey, look who decided to finally show up. Apparently the wolves slept in late, but they're not completely useless. This guy here in the back is going to be able to move 6 inches, and we'll just bring him up like so. That is the end of the turn for our goblins. The Bromans now get to go, and do our archers, are they... There's our 9 inches. Well, first of all, let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. These guys have to make a wild charge, and they are going to wild charge the unit that is in front of them. On a 6, that is an attack. They succeed. The elite riders will move into contact. Will these heavy riders countercharge? On a result of a 4, they do not, so they are still going to be attacking with their defense value, which is not as good. The elite riders will be hitting on 4s, and the heavy riders will be hitting on 5s. So 4s for the elites first. 1, 2, 3 hits altogether. Oh, I'm sorry, the Elite Riders hit on 3s, so it's a total of 6 hits altogether. And the Heavy Riders have an armor of 3, so they do 2 more wounds to the Goblin Spearmen. Before we do any courage checks, let's roll the attack by the Heavy Riders. Hitting on 5s, they need 4 hits to eliminate somebody. They get 1, 2, 3. They do no wounds to the Elite Riders. And that's where countercharge really comes in handy. So we have to make a morale check at -4 now. And that's not a good sign. How close are we to the boss? We are outside of 6 inches. They don't get the +1 for that. A result of a 2 means the goblins, their Heavy Riders, have a courage of 4. They fail that check. They must retreat a half a move and become oh. You know, I don't think they were battered last time, were they? I think I rolled a 6, and their courage is a 3. Oh, the Romans got away with another one. Either way, they're battered now. We'll bring them back 2.5 inches, and we'll give them the red gem of shame. The Elite Riders do not have to make that check. They're done. Now who do we want to check next? Let's see what happens if we use our archers to shoot. They will shoot on a successful score of 6 up. They're going to take a shot at these Heavy Riders. And they are going to be hitting, because they haven't moved, they're going to be hitting on 5s. We'll roll them over here in the open. And we get a total of 1, 2, 3 hits. 6, 5, 5. Heavy Riders have an armor of 3. That knocks out another Heavy Rider. And they are going to have to make a courage check at -5. 8 minus 5 is 3 with a courage of 4 up. They retreat once again. They're going to have to retreat 2.5 inches in this direction now. Well, they can't get closer to anybody. They're going to have to retreat this way. He retreats away from the guy that shot him. So he was about right here. Let's pull him 2.5 inches this way. But he's not allowed to get closer to an enemy. So really, that's about the only direction he can move. All right. There we go. We're going to try to put our... Do we want to put our spear in wall of spears? Nobody's coming at him right now. We're going to try to... Well, I'm sorry. I forgot. Does he have wild charge? He's a Heavy Rider. He does not. We're going to charge now, though. We're going to try to wipe him out. Our king is going to get an attack on a 5 up because they are Heavy Riders. So they'll move into contact. And now it's going to be 12 dice against 6 dice. Oh, does that Heavy Rider, does he, when he's battered, does he get a counter charge? I don't think he does. We'll give it a shot anyway. On an 8, he does get the counter charge. So we'll pull back a little something like this. Actually, I'm not going to check right now. I'll check after the video is over. But I think when you're battered, you can't use any of your special abilities. Which is going to be ugly for him. But he's going down here anyway because these Heavy Riders are going to be hitting on a 5. They only need 3 hits. 1, 2, 3, they get it. The only question is, let's roll the dice and see what happens. The only question is whether they are able to counter. And they get a total of 3 hits. So they will be able to... So he is wiped out. No more Heavy Riders for you, goblins. But with those 3 hits on the king, he will manage to do 1 wound. And that's going to force the king to make a check. And at 6, -1, +1 for the king, they are going to be successful. They're going to hang tight right where they are at. Boy, well, that was fortunate, right? Heavy Riders, whether he rolled 4s or 5s, and he didn't roll any 4s, it was all 5 up. So, see, it all works out in the end. See, it's fine, it's fine. And I think that's the end. No, it's not. It's not the end. We do still have these Elite Foot to go, and those Elite Foot are going to stand around on a 4 and do not much. We're going to push in just a little bit more. The first thing we have to do are these elite riders do have wild charge. They are going to try to get stuck in with these guys. And on a result of a 5, they succeed. Elite riders hit on a 5 up. So we've got elite riders versus elite foot, and it's going to be a full 12 on 12. We roll the attacker first. Elite riders hitting on a 5, and the elite foot have an armor of 4. So hitting on 5s, looking for a total of 4. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits. These 3 do nothing. One of our elite foot goes down. But the elite foot get to counterattack, and elite foot have a defense of value of 4. Holy cow. That's pretty good. Rolling 12 dice, looking for 4s. We get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits. 8 hits altogether. Man, what a great roll. 8 hits on those elite riders is going to wipe out 2 of them, meaning our elite riders will check the defenders first. The elite foot are rolling, and they get a result of a 4 minus 1 is 3, and those elite foot have a courage of 3. They just barely made it. However, the elite riders have a courage of 4, and they're going to be at minus 2. So they get a 7, and they made it as well. The elite riders have to retreat by 1.5 inches to about there. And is that the only required charge we've got? No, the lesser war beasts also have wild charge. They get a 10, so they are going to wild charge the king, come whipping around the dangerous terrain, whom nobody has been brave enough or stupid enough to try to interact with. So we have a fight down here. It's going to be 12 dice on 12 dice. Heavy Riders, does he countercharge? On a 7, he does. We'll get the geometry right. We're going to pull these guys back about halfway, and then we're going to bring our king around. He countercharges. Everybody is rolling on their attack profile. The lesser war beasts are going to be hitting on an attack value of 4 on their 12 dice. They get 1, 2, 3. This was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hits altogether on those heavy riders. That's going to do 2 wounds. We're leaving Hopper in place. There's our 2 wounds. They are now down to half strength. Ooh, that's bad. That's not good. However, the king does get to make a counterattack. 12 dice, heavy riders, hitting on 4s. He gets a total of 1, 2, 3. Wow. We're rolling really well here. 3, 6, 7 hits. The lesser war beasts have an armor of 3, which means they will also lose 2 beasts. So we got to make 2 morale checks. We will start with the defenders. That's the king. He rolls a 12. He's fine. The lesser war beasts have a courage of 3. So this minus 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. They are also fine. They have to withdraw 1.5 inches, like so. And I think that's not it. That's just the crazy charges on the part of the goblins. They still have a boss man and light riders. And I think the light riders are going to try. The first thing we'll do, well, we haven't even used his special ability yet. We're going to bring these war beasts 5 inches to here. And then we're going to open fire with these archers on the king. The archers are at full strength. They're going to try anyway. On a result of a 6, the light riders will get to use their shoot, and they're going to roll 12 dice looking for 5s. And the king doesn't get to counterattack. They only get 1 hit altogether. Nothing doing. The king is going to take that. Now here's where it gets interesting. The king could pull back. He is only half strength, but he's still 1 victory point. Well, maybe he could. Oh, these are casualties. Let me get these out of here so we don't get too confused. Remember that on the Broman turn, the first thing you have to do is rally any battered units. Of course, we do not have any of those. Then you have to do your wild charges in whatever order you want. We're going to start with our king, who is a heavy rider. He does not have to charge. The only wild charge we have is these guys right here, and they can charge these guys. That's what we're going to do. Make an attack roll of a 5-up. Those elite riders are going to charge here. However, these skirmishers can make a skirmish check, and on a 7-up, ooh, they don't get it. So they're going to be fighting defensively now against these elite riders. You could make a case for the blocking terrain preventing the elite riders from charging these guys. You could make that argument. I am going to give it a 50-50 chance. On a 1, 2, or a 3, these guys have to charge the greater war beasts. We got a 4, they don't. But that's something to consider. You can't charge people you can't see, I don't think. That's the way most miniature war games work. So that's the way this one's going to work. We have an attack here, and we're going to roll 12 dice for our elite riders, hitting on 3s. Elite riders hit on 3s. 1, 2. Let's pull out all the misses, okay? The 1, 2, 2. We have a total of 4, 8, 9 hits on the light riders who have an armor of 3. They are reduced to half already, but they do get to counterattack. Light riders have a defense value of 6, looking for 6s. And you gotta get 4 of them? Whew. Yahtzee, they got one, which forces a morale check. And really, that's the big thing. You want to force that morale check on these guys. Rolling for the goblins first. They get a 10, minus 3 is a 7. They pass. Rolling for the elite riders. They get a 6, minus 2 is a 4. Elite riders have a courage of 3. They're fine. They're going to pull back that 1.5 inches. And that is it for the wild charge phase of the game. We've got 2 units at half strength. What do we do with these guys? What do we do with those guys? The king is too far away to help these guys out. The archers, of course, could leave right now for 3 victory points. Instead, we're going to try to move them over here. And on a 4, that is the end of the turn for the Broman Empire. Now we've got to do some wild charges on the part of... We can do these in any order we want. We've got a wild charge up here, we've got a wild charge right here, and we've got a wild charge right there. The first thing we want to do is... Let's bring... You know, our Goblin King has not had much to do. So he gets a free move. He can give anybody a free move order if they're within 6 inches. Let's see if these light riders are within 6 inches. They're not. All right, that's unfortunate. And every other unit has to do a wild charge. Okay, well, we're going to try to wild charge these guys with the War Beasts first. Greater War Beasts attack on a 5-up. The Elite Riders on a 7-up can countercharge, and a 7 they can. So we'll bring them right to the center here. Everybody is rolling on their attack profile. And here's where the maneuver element is critical early on, because now everybody's stuck wild charging each other all over the place. Might be a problem for everybody. We're rolling for the Greater War Beasts first. They are attacking on a 3-up, and they're going to get a total of 1 hit with these 4. And on a 3-up, they get a 2nd hit, which reduces our Elite Riders to half strength. Our Elite Riders do get a chance to counter-attack, hitting on 3s. They're still at full strength. Hitting on 3s, they need 4 hits in order to take out, to do a wound. So with a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 hits altogether. Wow, that's crazy. They are going to be able to remove 1 of these Greater War Beasts. We'll roll for the Elite Riders first. They are going to need they're going to be at -4. They have a courage of 3-up. Wait. They're within 6 inches of the king, so they are actually at a total of -3 altogether. They get a total of 6. They're fine. The Greater War Beasts are going to be at -2. -1 because the king is still there. Their leader is, and the greater war beasts have a courage of 3 up, rolling at -1 altogether. A 6, they're fine. The war beasts back off. That was a great exchange for the goblins, because those elite riders are in big trouble. Then we're going to roll for the elite riders up there, taking it to, and they fail. Oh, that's bad for the goblins. But it's not the end of the turn, because these war beasts down here get a chance, and with a 5 up, lesser war beasts are going to be able to attack. The heavy riders can countercharge, but they don't. So they're only going to be hitting on a 5 this time. The lesser war beasts are still, and ooh, this might be bad. The lesser war beasts are rolling at full strength, hitting on 4s, and they get hitting on 4s against an opponent with an armor of 3. Hitting on 4s, they get a total of 5 hits, so that's only 1 wound, but that may be enough. Hey, King, you're supposed to be in there. You're always the last casualty. Then the riders attacking the lesser war beasts back, because there are only 3 of them, they only get to roll 6 dice. Heavy riders only hitting on 5s. They get 2 hits. The lesser war beasts, you needed that 3rd. So the war beasts don't have to make a morale check, but our king does. And on a result of a 3, -4, +1, this is not good. 4 -3, so this is a 0. And when you roll a 0 on your courage check, remove it immediately. So the king has routed from the table. When your leader routs, every unit has to make a morale check. Let's check those guys up there. At a -1, they roll a 3, which means the elite foot, at -1, they get a 2. They've failed their check. They fall back half a move. That's just 1.5 inches. But worse than that, they are now battered. Then we will check for these elite riders who are rolling at a -4. And when you get a 9 -5, elite riders have a courage of 3. They're okay. We've got 2 units here that are rolling straight rolls. The heavy foot have a courage of 4. They make it. The archers have a courage of, they're fine too. So one of the best units left on the table just is brokenhearted at the death once more of King Hopper. Even worse, you no longer have access to a special ability. Even worse than that, we're still not done with our wild charges. No, we are done with the wild charges, but we do have 3 bowmen who can take a shot at these guys here. We're gonna, it's half strength. 11 is gonna do it. These guys are within 6 inches. So we're only rolling 6 dice. Oh, well, you know, it doesn't matter. They are hitting on 5s, and they only do 2 wounds. And I think that's the end of the turn for our goblins. We have to try to rally this unit right here. This battered unit rolls a 7, -1 is a 6. They're no longer battered. Then we have to do a wild charge here. Those 2 elite riders have to charge the king. The greater war beast does not. Oh, he does have wild charge. On a 7 up, he can countercharge, and he does. So everybody's rolling on their attack profile. The elite riders hitting on 3s only get 2 hits. That's not enough to do any damage. At greater than half strength, the Goblin King gets to roll all 12 dice. And because he countercharged, he is hitting on 3s instead of 6s. And all he needs is 6 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, he needs 8. 5, 6, 7, 8 hits. That completely wipes these guys from the table. That means the Bromans have lost 10 of their 24. Yeah, 10 of their 24. They are not down to half strength yet. But because they've only got 9 victory points on the table compared to 3, 6, 7, 3, 6, 9, 10. If the goblins just ran off the table, they could win this scenario right now. There'd be no way for the Bromans to catch up. The problem they have is that these elite riders have wild charge. They're stuck fighting these guys to the bitter end. So strategically, what we're going to have to do is bring our boss over and try to wipe them out. In fact, we may bring everybody over. If we can wipe these guys out with enough strength points left, the goblins are going to win by default. Alternatively, you can try to reduce one of these guys to half, but I think that's the smart play, is just gang up on those elite warriors. It remains the Broman turn, and at 9 inches, the archers still don't have a shot on these war beasts. We'll have to move them. And on a 3, they do not. Remember, the elite foot recovered, so they don't get to do anything. On the turn of the goblins, we have to move these elite riders first. They have to wild charge. They get it, and they're going to move into contact with the elite foot. And I think if they win this and force this elite foot back, the elite foot is going to retreat off the table. The elite foot do not have countercharge. They're just going to have to take it. The elite riders are hitting on 3s, and the elite foot are hitting on 4s. So 3s for the goblins. I'm almost starting to wonder if these dice are loaded. And the elite foot have an armor of 4, so there's 1 hit there. And there is a 2nd hit there, and then these are all wiped out. So 2 more guys go down. But the elite foot do have an opportunity to counterattack. They are only going to be hitting on 4s against those heavy riders. Is that right? Elite foot hitting on 4s as their defensive value. We get 1, we're going to call that a 4. 1, 2, 3. Heavy riders have an armor of 3. So there's 1, 2, and 2 hits against these heavy riders. And then it's time for... Now, the heavy riders are at +1 because they're within 6 inches of the boss man. So we'll check the heavy riders first. They are at a total of -3 to this roll. They get 6 minus 3 is a 3. Heavy riders have a courage of 4. They have failed. They will move back 1, 2.5, and they are battered. But the elite foot also have to check for morale, and they are at -3. They actually make... Oh, look at that. That went really well for the Bromans. They're back in the fight. Just like that. One big combat sometimes makes all the difference. That was these guys, and then the next order of business will be moving the Greater War Beasts. Again, we're going to try to wipe these guys out. Greater War Beasts... Oh, no! I got that wrong. He has an automatic move that he can order somebody within 6 inches. And that's going to be him. He can move 5 inches to here. Then we see if these guys shoot, and there's your... Well, you know what? We're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They don't. So that is the end of the Goblin turn. The Bromans, man, what can you do? I think this battle is just about over. We're going to try to move these guys first, and on a 3 they don't, which means we're right back to wild... Oh! Can we rally? With a result of a 7. +1 is an 8. -4 is a 4. These guys have rallied. The Greater War Beasts are charging the elite foot, and on a 6 they're going to get it. They are at greater than half strength, so it'll be 12 dice for the Greater War Beasts. On their attack roll, they are hitting on 3s. And our elite foot have an armor of 4. So here's 1 hit, and here is a 2nd hit. They're reduced to just 1 guy. Then they get to counterattack, and because they were charged, the elite foot are hitting on 4s. They get a total of 3 hits against a Greater War Beast. That's insufficient. This lone elite foot has to make his check, and he is gone. Now, because we have lost half of the army points, These guys have to make a courage check, and these guys do. Both of these courage checks are going to be at -1. We get a 5 for the spearmen, and there may be another modifier. Let's go to the wonderful Osprey cheat sheet. -1 for each, and these guys haven't suffered any casualties, but they've lost more than half, so it's just -1. A result of a 5 for the heavy foot, courage of 4, they're fine. And then we roll for the bowmen. They are going to get a 5, and the bowmen have a courage of 4, so they're okay too. But nobody, so what do we got here? We've got 3 victory points here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to try to move these guys. And on a 9, they can move 6 inches. So we're going to bring them. Now it's a race to get everybody off the table. We're going to bring these war beasts this way. The only hope we've got here basically is to catch them with the archers. Who went? So these guys went, these guys went, these guys went. These light riders are going to move 5 inches, and that's going to put them right about here. And that's the end of the goblin turn. Oh, there is an 1.5 inches. We got to bring them around like that. We'll stop. Okay, we'll do like that. There we go. Because you have that 1.5 inches buffer around every unit. The Bromans go. The archers are going to try to move into position to take a shot. And we might as well bring them up. They can move 4 inches to here. And then I guess we can chase some guys down with the spearmen, but the spearmen don't move. So our bows, at least, are going to get a little bit closer. I guess if we're smart, we could have run them up that way, but then these guys would come back. So, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. The boss man is going to order these guys, the greater war beasts, to move their 6 inches up to here. That does protect them from getting shot by the bowmen, who have a range of 9 inches. You can see they are out of range. Then we're going to roll for some movement. Our heavy riders are going to be able to move 5 inches towards the escape route. Our greater war beast is going to roll a 7, and our archers are going to move not at all. But that does bring our king up to here, and we'll turn our heavy riders around. Then we'll see if our archers can move up another 4 inches. Hey, they can. To here. Like so. If I was playing against a regular opponent as the Bromans, I would probably concede at this point. But I'm not, so we'll go. This time the king says, all right, Greater War Beasts, you are at more than half. I need you to get off the table. And as you can see, they are within 6 inches. Remember, the dangerous terrain does not block line of sight. Then we're going to try to move these guys to safety. On a 3, they do not. So the Bromans now can try to shoot, and on a 6, they do. Rolling for the archers, who hit on a 5. They're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits altogether on those light riders, which does 1 wound. Which means they have to take a morale check. And look at that. At -4, they're wiped off the board. So maybe this fleeing was a bad idea. We still have 7 points available to us. 7 to 6. The goblins still have an opportunity here. We'll try to move these guys up. And we do not. So the goblins still have a chance. We'll move our backmost guys. Who can we move? This is our leader. They are going to have to roll. We're going to move this 1 point or the 3 point. Which one do we move? We're going to move this one. The king says, hey, sorry guys, I got to go. He's also closest to the archers, so that makes sense. And then we'll try to move our war beasts on a 6. Our lesser war beasts are giggity gone. 6 inches. Well, I can check. Are they within 6 inches? Oh, yeah. They're within 6 inches of that portal. Boom! So that's 3 victory points for the goblins. Then we'll try to move these elite riders, and they are not going to move. So the archers will try to catch up to them, and on a 7, they can move 4 inches to about here. Does that put them within range? Yeah, it does. Well, kind of. I think this is I keep saying, I think this is the end of the game. I think this is the end of the game. And then I keep getting it wrong. But at least the free move means they're going to be able to move 5 inches closer to the portal. It'll put them right there. And then the greater war beasts are going to try to escape on a 9. As you can see, they're 5 inches away. You know what? We're going to bring them right over here. We're going to hold off, because we can order them off. We don't want to lose that ability yet. So the archers try to move, and on a 9 they can move 4 inches to here. And then we're going to order this is greater than half strength. Oh, you know what? That's, yeah. No, it's 4 points. 4 points to the goblins. And then does our king escape the board? On a 4, he does not. Is he within range of our archers? No, he's not. They're going to have to move up. And I know I'm just moving the 1. So he moves up to here, and everybody moves up behind him. And now that is the end of the game, because they're not close enough to hit him. He can give himself the move order. And our goblins are going to escape with a grand total of 3, 6, 7 points. The Broman Empire only has 6 points on the board. They cannot win. If you are playing the full game, then you can use a thing called boasts. And you can declare, I'm going to do some tricky stuff. My leader's not going to draw his sword. He's never going to make an attack roll or a defense roll. You can declare that my leader is not even going to move, and you get 3 bonus points. I don't do that because it gets way too complicated. You can see I struggle to play both sides on my own just with the basic rules. The victory points that are listed here for escaping from the table means that you have to get stuck in to avoid the tie, but you want to be able to extricate yourself as well. So in a battle like this, you might be better off with a whole bunch of foot troops that are a little slower, but aren't stuck charging even after you've lost the ability to score those victory points. Really interesting scenario. The crisscrossy nature of it makes it a lot more fluid than most medieval or fantasy battles of its kind. I highly recommend you guys pick up a copy of Dragon Rampant by old Dan Mersey. I don't know anything about the guy, except that he writes a heck of a set of wargame rules. And if whether you can write a good wargame rule or not is a measure of a man, then Dan Mersey is one of the giants. Hey, thanks for playing along with me, guys. Tell me what I did wrong in the comments, as though I need to tell you that. I'm praying for you.